The musicians are just magical people. As naive as that sounds, I always thought that just like these people are just, you don't even need to be really that good. It's just as long as you're broadcasting that vibe and living that lifestyle, you're already in a breakaway civilization. You're already not walking this horrendous, force-fed dictatorship lifestyle. So I felt like if you're 1 foot in whether it's mosh pit or orchestra pit, it's the same.
Music is the subculture. If you're really part of it, is what you're saying, is like you're already on a different level if you're dedicating yourself to the craft of music.
People usually say like, a musician's walk of life is so thorned with so many different ups and downs, and just don't do it if you really don't have what it takes. But I feel different. I feel like people who are musicians who are not even successful, just their still life is a lot more happier than like.
I agree.
It's actually
Like I have a bunch of friends who just get in a van and go like up and down East Coast for like do 10 dates.
Yeah.
The band like draws like 50 people. They're psyched, man. It's not like a low bar. It's just actually, metaphysically speaking, a better experience for the soul.
Hey everybody, it's Nick. How's your hearts? How's your minds? Just a quick intro for today's interview. We have Eugene Hütz, the lead singer of Gogol Bordello, sort of East Village international punk rock. I don't know, meets the art scene, meets, I don't know. It's hard to explain what he is. They're their own thing. One of the most entertaining bands in rock and roll. I feel like they'd be a good match for Andy Frasco and the UN for a live show, give them their live performances. It's a great interview. He's Ukrainian, so we got into the Ukraine war a little bit. Just some other stuff about growing up in that world. And it's cool because those Ukrainians are very acerbic, very dry. So it was a good mix between him and Andy and I in the interview. Great interview. I'll see you later. Bye. Have a good week.
Hey guys, Andy, and I want to talk a little bit about volume.com. Yes, volume.com, our sugar daddy. Yes, our sponsor. And we are doing a only Frasco subscription for $5 a month. We're going to have extended videos of the podcast. You're going to have a live stream once a month of the band. You're going to have live streams of us making the new record. So head over to volume.com/Andy Frasco. Subscribe. It's only $5. I got a cup of coffee today. It was $7.50. You could just spend 1 cup of coffee and get all the Frasco you want. So head over to volume.com/Andy Frasco and subscribe. Support your guys. Maybe I'll even pay Nick more. You never know. Let's go. My man. I like a man who wears sunglasses during the day.
Indoors and at nighttime is how I usually do it.
Eugene.
But listen, f it, I'll do it for you just one more
Fuck it.
time.
We're going live. Fuck it. Eugene, how is it going, bud?
Yeah, man. It's happening.
I want you.
It's on, brother.
Is on. The heat is on. How do you approach music to try to wake people up?
Well, I don't approach it. It's just what I do. I mean, it's not like, let me do it again.
Really?
Let me see what I can whip together here.
Yeah.
No, it's like I don't. What I do is just a really kind of like is evolved long time ago since I was a child, and I never questioned it for a second. And I questioned things within it, but the fact that like my path is a path of a musician and whatever performer, storyteller, that like never. I never doubted that, so I don't approach it. It's what I do every day, like.
So, will you give me your first memory as a musician, or something that you realized that's what you wanted to do every day?
Yeah, well, I got it from my father. I just downloaded it, like,
Yeah.
I was born into a band, basically, into my dad's band,
What was his band called?
Meridian.
What type of music?
Rock and roll, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of picked up everything from him, and in Soviet Union, playing rock and roll was not a very thing that's gonna get you places. It's gonna get you out of places.
Right.
And so
That's a great point.
But I just was, he discovered it on his own. I picked it up from him, and it became my lifestyle pretty much automatically. Yeah.
How old were you?
What?
How old were you when you felt like it came in automatically?
When I was in my mother's womb.
No.
I mean, I was listening to Jimi Hendrix at that time, like, the Band of Gypsies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go.
There you go.
My
Band
favorite
of
album
Ramones.
of the childhood.
Do you
I
remember?
was like basically crawled out, danced myself out of the womb to those sounds.
Jesus Christ.
And and remarkably, through so many years of exploring music and going from classical musical training that I also received to some degree, to like going haywire and becoming like thrash metal teenager, and then discovering punk rock, and then industrial and techno and everything else. It's Jimi Hendrix sounds, they remain to be the most hypnotic. Like after all these decades, when I thought that I will surely find something more higher frequency, and well, of course, it's ingrained in my psyche and my nervous system.
Yeah.
So there's one explanation. Another explanation is that it peaked with Jimmy.
It's true. I mean, he is what he is.
Yes, it's pretty much impossible to.
What do you see in Jimi Hendrix that make you say he's the GOAT?
Just it's a kind of inseparable qualities. Some people argue about his virtuosity, putting it in question. And that there was a certain amount of swag shtick involved, and I'm like, and how is that the problem?
Right, isn't that part of the
Like
show?
that.
Right.
That's the whole thing. It's
Yeah.
like just
Or that's
'cause-
just who he was.
just because
Yeah,
you don't have
yeah.
any swag doesn't
There you
mean
go.
that like that's his problem.
Yeah, it's called a show, not
Yeah.
a
You know.
I have that problem too. I'm like, I do 250 shows a year, been doing it for 15 years.
Right.
And people, just because I'm crowd surfing and doing the horror and running around, they think my shit's a bit instead of like, that's just who I am.
Yeah.
I'm just I grew up in the punk rock scene.
Exactly.
I grew up, if I wanted you to be boring on stage, I just listened to your album.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, it's certainly that thing where it's just a kind of a psychedelic Rubik's cube. You can't take it apart. I tell you what, like sometimes I come home with my girlfriend from a party, or from a concert or from a tour, and just like sit down, watch like Jimi Hendrix for like 4 hours on YouTube, and have some more whiskey. Like I've never heard it in my life.
It never gets old.
It's
Yeah,
just like what the.
Yes.
Is there a certain song that will never get old to you, or a certain like live track or live recording that never gets old to you?
I have a lot of tracks like that.
What do you got?
I think my favorite album of all times is Joy Division, Closer.
Mm-hmm.
And
Why?
I kind of discovered it at the kind of really a pivotal time, like when it kind of really stood out from entire punk, post-punk, barrage, meteoritis shower I was experiencing of records and cassettes just flying over my head. And
Right.
I always had a lot of really great mentors about music beyond my father, but like just hanging out with like back in Ukraine with like, rude boy skinheads and who were like really all about ska and reggae and and hardcore and electronic music and punk, classic punk, avant-garde punk. And it's just like kind of like stood out to a degree that made me actually, I was already playing music, like, like as a drummer. I started out playing drums, like all the psychos do when they're 13 years old.
Too. That's Neil's our guy.
And if you go into that list, it's like, most of like amazing frontmen, they turn out to be a drummer. Like they started out as a drummer, like Iggy and James Brown,
Prince.
Because you start in the
Prince,
back.
you know.
You start in the back, and then you want to
Yeah, exactly.
realize you have more to say.
Well, it's
than-
like first, it's like, what's the most physical thing I can bang on and work up so much endorphins
Right.
that I don't even need drugs. Like, like it seems to be a pretty good way. And Madonna was a drummer too.
There you go. And a dancer.
And and her band, Breakfast Club, I think it's called.
Yep.
CB's band, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then I just kind of, when it was time to start writing music, I was chiefly stimulated by Joy Division. I was like, wow, not only can I replicate these drum beats, which are so unusual, but technically undemanding, but I can certainly get around to bass lines like this. I can replicate them. They're not complicated. They're just, and guitar lines, they're so economical, and it was just amazing to hear people do it on like a seemingly dilettante level, but make high art out of it.
Yeah.
Like I distinctly felt like it was high art.
And it was easy to you.
Yeah, it seemed within reach.
Within reach.
You know, like I couldn't play like Pat Metheny or Jaco Pastorius.
Right.
Which I went to see also secretly from my friends, from my punk rock friends.
Oh, secretly you wouldn't
Pat Metheny came to Ukraine, and I was like,
I gotta go.
I got my hood over my head, so none of my friends see me.
You took the sunglasses off so they wouldn't recognize you.
And then they still got some shit for it, yeah.
Yeah.
It goes on until this day.
That's hilarious.
It's like, I love fusion music, like if I could somehow chime in on that front, I probably would. I'm just like not that much of a technically skilled player. I mean, some, but not really, not like those guys.
Right. You gotta make it your life.
Yeah, and so it's funny because it goes on until this day. Like I was doing this Cramps tribute in New York City. It's like annual thing. It's really fun, and a lot of cool people fucking chime in and come out and do Cramp song. The whole night is a party.
Cool.
And so I was really late for my slot. And I showed up like an hour later, and they're like, "What the man? Like, come on, get your ass on stage already. Where were you?" And I was like, "I was in Blue Note, watching Chick Corea with Marcus Miller."
Oh, I love those.
And they were like, "Why?"
Because they're geniuses. There's different ways to be a genius.
I can be more than just this, guys.
Yeah.
It
What
goes
the
on.
fuck?
There's more than one way to be a genius.
the fusion punk beef goes on.
Yeah.
Do you remember a moment when music humbled you?
Humbled me, like
You said your first moments of this is approachable.
right.
Any of the moments where it wasn't in your head, it wasn't approachable?
Not really. I don't know why that is.
Confidence?
Not necessarily. Just like I feel like well, back in my school back in Soviet Union, there's a big difference between living in Ukraine and Ukraine and Soviet Union.
Right.
Will you explain it to me?
What's that?
Will you explain the difference?
Yeah, of course. Soviet Union is a dictatorship state.
Yeah, totally.
And if somebody thinks it's something else, then they're not reading the room, man.
Fucking nuts, dude.
It's a state of dictatorship where any kind of sense of individuality is discouraged, and everything is a product of a kind of this particular form of like mythological, socialistic or communistic jamboree, which is not really socialism or communism. It's just dictatorship served as this particular communistic salad of ideas. In the meantime, it's just not so far away from Nazi Germany. And so living in that state is drastically different from in living pro-European Ukraine. I'm not talking about Ukraine during the war. Although war will ensure, of course, the victory of Ukraine will ensure that it will drift even farther away from any previous, Soviet Union history. So,
We were talking about confidence and how you
Yeah,
never
that-
felt humbled.
yeah, I think that the teachers were so sadistic that the whole idea is built on discouraging to anybody to do anything really. Because they only need nuts and bolts,
Right.
another nut for the society that they can screw into, whether it's military apparatus or whatever some industrial workmanship. But I just kind of had this idea that that the musicians are just magical people. Like, as naive as that sounds, I always thought that just like these people are just like, you don't even need to be really that good. It's just as long as you're broadcasting that vibe and living that lifestyle, you're already in a breakaway civilization. You're already not walking this horrendous, force-fed dictatorship lifestyle. So I felt like if you're one foot in whether it's mosh pit or orchestra pit, it's the same.
Yeah.
You're already levitating to some level. You're already kind of out of here on some level.
Right.
You're already not, complying.
So, music is the subculture. If you're really part of it, is what you're saying. Is like you're already on a different level if you're dedicating yourself to the craft of music.
Yeah, I mean, I always say to my friends, like, listen, if I'm gonna have a kid, I'm just gonna like be probably, people usually say like, I mean, musicians' walk of life is so, thorned with so many different ups and downs, and just don't do it if you really don't have what it takes. But I feel different. I feel like people who are musicians who are not even successful, just their still life is a lot more happier than like,
I agree.
like
It's actually
like I have a bunch of friends who just get in a van and go like up and down East Coast for like do 10 dates.
Yeah.
The band like draws like 50 people. They're psyched, man.
Still better
What's
than
there
not
not
doing
to
it.
like,
Yeah,
man.
still better than
Yeah.
not doing it.
You know what I mean? Like it's not like a low bar. It's just actually metaphysically speaking a better experience for the soul.
Yeah, totally.
You know?
I like. Have you ever had a moment in your musical career where you felt heartbroken,
Because of musical situation
or just the whole the atmosphere of it?
Well, I've been heartbroken like everybody else on this planet, but that wasn't because of musical ups and downs.
No? What was it?
Romantic situations,
Yeah.
that didn't pan out the way we want them to pan out.
What about like band members? Ever had to like fire a band member or?
Well, there was situations like this, and also the thing about Gogol Bordello, it's kind of like when I came in, you asked me, how many people's in your band? I
Right.
said 7, and that's been the way for many years. But there was a time when I didn't know how many people in the band.
Are you for real?
because in stages of
love this.
embryonic stages
Yeah.
of the band, it was like a very it was a ball of energy, and there was a core of the band which remains to be the core. It's Sergey and Pedro and I and our original drummer Elliot, who left to pursue a family and has children, and we're just keep in touch and went and saw 9 Inch Nails together for our Valentine's Day reunion.
I love that.
True bromance goes on. But, there was a time when, it's just some heavy ass players from New York, from jazz scene or from avant-garde scene, would turn up for a rehearsal and then turn up for a gig and then turn up for a tour. And so it was like, oh,
I guess you're in the band now.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
and then disappear just in the same way, like 2 years later, hey, I'm doing this now. I'm going like Ori from Balkan Beatbox, for example, which is a great project.
Yeah, they rule.
That was his story. I mean, I don't really know how he appeared in a band. He just
So was it
came
an
in with-
open door policy for the band?
well, there was to an extent that policy. Last thing on my mind was having any kind of policy.
Right.
It was total chaos. But you know, because of so many session players, and I kind of learned that idea from Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. Because, you know, I was like a big fan of Birthday Party, and then the band transformed into Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, and I kind of followed every album, and I saw that, it's like, here's the core members, and there's always like 1-2 new band members on the record, like, oh wow, you know, Barry Adamson is on the record. Who's he? Like, wow. Turns out to be he's an amazing composer and like you know, avant-garde and jazz player. So I got to study everything about that. And then Kid Congo Powers from the Cramps joins Nick Cave with them. And so that brought like a lot of real cool newness and mystique into how this operates. And now I know how it operates. Is, you know, I kind of set the band in motion with the similar idea. Like, we don't need entire string quartet. Like, we don't. But, you know, when Sergey came into our vicinity, of course, I snatched him because violin is good for gypsy punk rock and roll.
True.
Yeah.
You know, in fact, a lot of Romani people who invented term gypsy punk for me
Yeah.
said, who were, you know, fans of what we were doing, they said, hey, you need a violin player. That's just going to complete the story here. And so when Sergey appeared, I went extra mile and, you know, persuaded him to be in a band because he's a classical musician.
Right.
Quick break from the interview. I want to talk about our lovely sponsor, Gardenista. Gardenista is the freshest, most delicious, ready-to-serve cocktail, and it's unlike anything you ever tasted. It really isn't. It's really nice, actually. It's made with natural ingredients, green herbs, ginger, lime juice, organic cane sugar. I didn't know that it had organic cane sugar. That's what I tasted in it.
I love the jalapeno.
The jalapeno is nice. A subtle kick of perfectly balanced with premium spirits, tequila, vodka, or bourbon. You could pick between these green juices having tequila, vodka, or bourbon, which is pretty sick. My favorite is the vodka one. It feels good with the spice. Tequila's good.
And the tequila is my favorite.
Yeah. And it's only 98 calories. Damn, I didn't know that. It's only 98 calories?
For serving, yeah.
Oh, a little skinny bitch over here. Yes, bitch. I'm a little skinny bitch when I drink Gardenista. It's 98 calories per serving and 15% alcohol. ABV is alcohol?
Alcohol by volume.
Wow, that's strong drink. No wonder. I normally pull it out when I have those 3 a.m. parties after the bars. And it's bomb. And it's kind of like a nice talking. Like you feel like I put some ice in it and it's a nice conversational piece. So you could order it at their shop, drinkgardenista.com. And for listeners of the World Saving Podcast, please use the code Frasco for 20 to get 20% off your first order. That's Frasco, the word for FOR 20. I love this. I know you will too. And Jason, who runs the company, is just a great guy. And
That's not what he said to say.
He said, "Oh, he told us to say." Also, my best friend Jason has a huge hog, and that's true. So grab Gardenista and let him know Frasco and Jason's huge hog sent you. All right, goodbye. Enjoy the interview.
Convincing these classical musicians about chaos, like your live shows, party. How did they first approach, you know, the live show? You know, I think about these crazy jazz, these serious musicians, and then they all want to be with you. And then you're like, all right, let's do the show. And you just, you know, like what? Give me some of those stories of these guys.
Word shell shock is very accurate here. In fact, I have it on camera. Somebody was filming the show and Sergey came to our first concert. And for those who are listening out there, you know, Sergey is, you know, classically trained, like finished conservatory and theater academy, and never, you know, he never rubbed thighs with anything alternative. let alone punk rock and hardcore. So I heard about him, and as I was mentioning, I persuaded him. In fact, I kind of came to his gig, to his classical gig, and I told him that, I have this crazy ass punk rock band with in the works, and that we need to enrich our instrumentation, and I think he would be perfect. and he took my number, and just to be polite. And then I called him and I said, hey, listen, we have a show actually tomorrow, so rehearsal, just show up and let's get to it. You're going to be great. You're just going to be fantastic at it.
You are a legend.
In this context, you're going to be sizzling. And he said, my wife told me not to play with you because she heard about you. Her friends told her that they went and saw your concert, and it was this despicable extravaganza where that this is not the kind of music I play. And I was like, really? Wow. So that's kind of cool. So I was like, okay.
Did you like having that rep?
Well, I mean, what's there not to like?
Yeah,
we were
rock
like
and roll.
the new Cramps when we showed up on Lower East Side. We
Fucking
brought
sick.
awesome, decadent party everywhere we went, and we were banned from every club,
Yeah.
Sounds pretty
including
awesome.
CBGB.
That's crazy. What do you
Yeah.
got to do to get banned from CBGB?
Yeah.
I know, exactly. It's like, I understand if you're banned from Blue Note
Right, exactly.
for
What was the worst thing you were banned for?
who said that they were bad? There's nothing bad about
Well,
it.
In their
No,
eyes.
banned.
In their eyes.
Banned.
Um,
You was like, you'd like, in their eyes, why'd they not have you in the room?
Chaos.
Chaos.
extreme chaos beyond people willing to deal with it. There's nothing malicious, just going back to how many people in the band.
Right.
Right.
From CB's, we were banned because at that time we just met Pedro, our percussionist and electronic and singer. He's from Ecuador, and he was kind of became very tight very quickly and DJ'd together everywhere. And he taught me a lot about Latin American music, and I hit it off with that whole community of Colombian, Argentinian, Brazilian, Mexican people that were just deeply into music. And, they had their own scene, and they were having these gatherings where they would, do a kind of that samba drum inspired gatherings where, 30, 40, 50, 60 people would show up with their drums and create rhythmical chaos. And so they turned up for one of our gigs and they just blocked the entire sidewalk. It was just like us from the stage all the way through the bar and all the way to the sidewalk. It was like a band that starts on stage and ends across the street.
Whoa.
So,
Fuck yes. Yes.
and just not everybody was ready to deal with it. I mean, we love CB's.
We need customers in here.
No, it was packed. It's just that it was a model of behavior that was not you think punk rock already did it all, but
Yeah.
that was just one other thing that
And you're like,
didn't
hold my
happen.
beer, bitch. I'm bringing a different vibe.
It was just a different spectacle, a bit like situationist kind of art, Dadaist happening or something.
We have a lot of jam band fans that listen to our pod. What's your Les Claypool? What's your fascination with Les Claypool, and what? Any great memories of first time meeting Les and him meeting you?
Yeah, well, it's actually pretty amazing because Les invited us on tour pretty early on. People were just finding out about us, and being a seeker and a kind of a person that's just so into embracing like new shapes and forms. I don't know how he scouted us out, but what I do know is that we had a blast on tour with him. It was us and there's another kind of a really, really quirky band. Damn, their name is escaping my mind right now. But so through that process, we became friends, and then immediately after, Les invited Sergey and Yuri and I to come to his place and do some recording. So, went to Sebastopol, where he lives, and recorded there. It was, I think it came out as on his like one of his side projects, like Frog Brigade. Or,
yeah. With Mike Dillon.
yeah, and from then on, we just kept in touch, and just coming out doing little guest appearances here and there, and but I actually was kind of connected into Les's universe long before that. In the early 90s, when I just first came to the States, I moved in with some cats, just kids who were just into rock and roll and alternative music, and into punk rock. We were going to see Fugazi and Madball and Murphy's Law and all the hardcore bands together. And one of them was kind of would disappear for a month or two here and there. And my English was non-existent back then, so I couldn't really keep track of everything informational wise. And then eventually I did ask him though, hey man, what happens when you disappear for 2 months? Where do you go? One of my roommates.
Yeah.
He goes, well, I used to play drums, and now I am a drum tech for Primus.
Oh my God.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
And for Jane's Addiction too, his name is Joe Paul. So Joe
Hey.
Paul, what's happening, man?
Hey, brother. What's up?
And so, I was like, wow, just like that. I've been here in the States for 6 weeks, and my roommate is working as a tech for
Right.
Jane's Addiction, who were in their peak basically,
Yeah,
91, 92, and Primus was just going ballistic at that time.
they were on
Yeah.
MTV and
Oh,
stuff.
they're
Yeah, totally.
fucking
Like,
huge.
yeah, totally. So it was kind of like one way or another, meeting Les was inevitable,
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just think he's a great American original, up to part with like, Captain Beefheart and Frank Zappa, and yeah,
Great
just
comparison.
great American original.
Any have you met any of your idols?
Pretty much all of them.
Who was your favorite?
Well, I think that for a songwriter, because I consider myself foremost a songwriter,
Absolutely.
that's kind of what holds it all together.
Yeah, totally.
And I love performing and going out there and conjuring the collective madness, but ultimately it's all held together by songwriting. And my chief mentor is Nick Cave.
Yeah. What did he teach you?
Well, there's a lot of things. I mean, first of all, it's a very kind of the trajectory of. I take it you all familiar with
Oh, yeah.
the birthday party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the trajectory of kind of, just rattling completely and demising song form, and with birthday party, and creating kind of like a ultimate avant-garde art punk band, and then making way back to essentially Johnny Cash-esque
Folk music almost. Yeah.
song form, and revisiting it in the years of later years with a even deeper love, which I can see how can happen. I kind of travel the same trajectory, and
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. I mean,
Where do you think he'll end up?
absolutely canonized, hanging in the Louvre. Yes. Where else could I go but not there? No. Well, just to point out one more time, I think those things are all interconnected and they're one swarming, living being. So it's not like one is better than the other. It depends what part of life you're in.
Yeah.
Like, of course, language of alternative tuning and not using any chords at all and despising songwriting form. Of course, it was appealing to me when I was 16, when I saw Sonic Youth first time. It's like, that's the way. And then you see Sonic Youth themselves making their way into the songwriting form.
Right.
And doing really great at it. And so, which is also definitely one of my hugest mentors in terms of like band music. It's something that's like so all encompassing. It's almost like that to me, like word metaphysical comes to mind, because it's just so like, that's like music that comes from the other side. Mm-hmm. And so is Nick Cave and so Iggy Pop, of course, in terms of like, those are my guys.
Yeah.
So, Shane MacGowan was a huge influence. I, as they say, I was lucky to meet all of them and become friends with them. But luck is probably the wrong word. It's kind of
You're destined to meet with
it's kind of inevitable because, well, I'll tell you one story. It's like when I was still living in Ukraine and just starting to discover all this crazy ass expressive music and artists, name Lydia Lunch, of course, also came on my radar along with others. And it was like, and as soon as I left Ukraine, I was like working on construction in Italy, and like this was kind of miserable years. And I got in touch with my friends, was talking on the phone with them, and they're like, hey, Lydia Lunch was just here. And I was like, how did that came about? They're like, we have no idea. She came with Kid Congo Powers from Cramps and this German band Die Haut. And you know what? We played with her. We opened up. So, yeah, it's like a couple months before that, name Lydia Lunch was something from another planet.
Right.
Then I did not orchestrate it. I wasn't even there. But because a family of this kind of musicianship, this kind of particular walk of life artist that I think we are part of, that whole tree, is incredibly small around the world. It's like you can count it all on the fingers, these couple clusters of it. And so I wasn't there, but my friends ended up playing with her.
Crazy.
And then, of course, I meet her in New York and we talk about that. And she's like, yeah, it's absolutely inevitable. And she's like, the world is tiny for us,
Right.
And so, that kind of answers, I think, what you're saying, And meeting all these people, it was incredibly meaningful, Nick Cave is a really amazing person. Iggy, of course, he's a sage.
Any of your idols were just complete assholes?
That's a banal thing that people keep reiterating, like, don't meet your idols. And it's like, no, do meet your idols.
Yeah. I hate that
just
thing.
don't be a dick,
Right?
And they
Don't
the chances are they won't be assholes.
And don't put expectations on them.
I'm gonna clap for that.
Total tool and disrupting their throwing a grenade in their life.
Right, exactly.
What other choice you give them?
Right, exactly. You talk about how you write for, whatever's going on mentally. What are you writing about right now?
Here's how I do it. I don't know if it's like the most prolific way or not, but I don't really conjure anything up. or try to get inspired or any of this kind of things you hear about.
Yeah.
It's like I believe in this thing called a speed of soul. I think I read it in about this book called Born to Run. It's about a Mexican desert tribe of Native Americans who kind of, instead of walking, do all their daily operation by running. And so they have this thing where
I've seen this. Yeah.
it's
It's
it was like a book that made some waves for sure. And when we were working with Rick Rubin on the record, he told me about that book because I was a long distance runner in the past, and so he told me about it. And we talked about it. So I got it. I read it, and there was an interesting part where this guy who's writing a book about them, he's spending time with them, and they're crossing some chunk of the desert. So there was a situation where they all stop and say, "Hey, well, now we have to rest." And he's like, "But we're not tired." He's like, "Yeah, no." And then the chief goes, "No, we are not tired. We're going to have to wait for our souls to catch up because our bodies made to sleep and the souls are still back." And, it really rang true with me because I think I experienced some of that kind of like outrunning your soul a little bit, especially in the forms of jet lag. Flying from Tokyo back to Rio.
Right.
When I used to live in Brazil, it was just insane. Like just going back to Rio from Australia or from like any point is just nuts.
Neil, Quiet Neil, you're one of his favorite bands. And
Cool. Thank
Been
you.
seeing you guys forever, so it's really great to see you.
Thanks, man.
what would you like to say to Eugene, my bro?
So I always have a kind of random question, and I'm thinking right now, this is all I can think of. Do you ever have like a recurring dream or recurring nightmare?
Yeah.
What's that? What goes on in that recurring nightmare? And surely it's long, but a brief synopsis of the recurring nightmare.
No, so it's about learning how to swim. Yeah, for some reason, for a long time, I couldn't learn how to swim, and so this dream is that I'm swimming, and then suddenly I'm not swimming anymore. It's nothing catastrophic except that
Drowning.
you can drown.
Yeah, you're drowning and dying.
Except for dying, but yeah.
It's just something that I don't know why. I don't know what it is. It's just probably explains as easily that it was something that I really had to conquer. And this girl that I was really obsessed with at that time, when I was still athlete on it's like, imagine I'm like long distance runner, 14, 15 years old, taking place number 1 in Kiev time after time. Like serious training, and I just can't swim. It's like, what the is my problem, dude?
She was a professional swimmer?
And she was on our team, and we were at a sport camp, and jumped in the water, and I was kind of faking it that I can swim.
Oh,
and she's like, "I like your style of swimming."
You're creative.
I'm like, what the I'm swimming. It like gave me the wings, I mean, it was make believe.
Well, it's confidence, right?
Yeah, so I faked it till I made it in that sense, yeah.
That's unbelievable.
That's awesome.
Oh man,
Very cool.
Yeah, dreams are weird. I had a reoccurring dream of me dying in a plane crash because I was scared of flying, and
Nice.
Now you fly all the time.
now I fly all the time, but once I finally got away from that fear, I didn't have that dream anymore. Are you still afraid to swim, or is it?
No, I don't care at all. I love swimming.
When's the last
I
time
love
you had
flying.
that dream?
What's that?
When's the last time you had that dream? Do you remember?
Well, it probably comes and goes. Maybe like, I don't know, every 6 months. Not too often,
Yeah.
but it seems to be there in
Do you dream
in
a lot?
rotation.
Yeah.
Do you dream a lot?
Not really.
Yeah, me either.
It's because we're writers. We
Yeah.
write it all out, and there's nothing to dream about because
Right,
you're living it.
Yeah. That's funny.
That's actually so true. So do you think because we're living it, we don't dream about the future as much. We just stay present because we know it's gonna happen.
Well, I mean, depends how you mean dreaming. Like daydreaming, that's drastically different from
No,
dreaming, or
yeah.
like envisioning.
Envisioning, like you
In
said,
the-
writers.
Yeah,
we're
that-
living it.
Yeah, that's different from just like dreaming with REMs and ice.
Yeah.
And that's just like your brain like going through inventory
Right.
of some
Organizing.
kind. Yeah. I'm not big on that whole like dream interpretation. Talking about pseudoscience, that's
Yeah.
some pseudoscience right there. Just
I
people
agree.
writing books and selling them
Yeah.
because they don't know fucking anything else.
Exactly.
I agree.
Everyone dreams. Let's write a book about it.
Yeah, you know, that really symbolizes that. It's just like, yeah, really, okay.
I don't know. I
thanks.
think he just had that thought. Yeah.
Well, are you then? With that said, then I was going to ask you: are you living the dream? And you probably are because you're writing it.
I think that a lot of people live self-propelled prophecy, you know, in a lot of ways. Not all, because how do you explain and justify people who, you know, get into tragedy and can't get out for one reason or another, you know? But I don't know. I mean, I can't explain all these things, of course not.
Yeah.
But I think that we have capability to reach certain frequencies in life where, you know, not to sound corny, but kind of like, you know, what you're seeking is seeking you.
Yeah.
All that law of attraction kind of thing. It can work for you,
Yeah.
especially if you're in New York, you know. It seems to work there 100 times faster.
What about in Vermont?
It doesn't work 100 times faster.
Yeah.
I was like, when I saw that, I'm like, damn, he's living in Vermont. I'm like,
Yeah.
what do you like? What attracts you to Vermont? What do you love about it?
What attracts me to Vermont?
Or like, why'd you end up calling that your place?
Well, of course, it was because I looked at the globe with a microscope and then I thought, wow, what's that place that I never heard about?
Yeah.
Let me go there. No, we were simply stationed there as refugees.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's
And
wild.
there was no bunk beds in New York City at the time
Oh.
available for newcomers. And so I was really bummed out, you know, because I really wanted to, you know, just immerse myself into New York hardcore and music and stuff. But we were sent to Vermont, and then it was a blessing in disguise, you know. I quickly discovered that it's a really special place, and Bernie Sanders was running the town, and his wife, Jane Sanders, and Bernie, they started this cool club that was essentially a teen center that you know had punk rock and hardcore shows,
Yeah.
and
Sick.
and
So that's how
they
you got started here, huh?
yeah. So that was my home, away from home,
Yeah.
and there I met all my friends basically that you know remained with friends to this day.
Was
A
it
lot of them, yeah.
You lived in Burlington, or where'd you live?
Yeah, Burlington, yeah. Yeah, I only started moving to New York City 6 years later.
Did they have the higher ground? Was higher ground there yet?
Higher ground did not exist back then.
What about that fish bar?
Nectar's.
Nectar's.
That was there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, considering your audience, I'm gonna like peace out, you know, and not get into details on that.
No, please. We love talking.
Yeah.
No, there's no to talk about. But we were like polarly, drastically opposite sides of the scene.
Right.
When Fish was just starting up, we were like, "Oh my god!" Like, no, you know, like, what's this? But you know, there was, you know, but then quickly they kind of gained, even amongst punk and hardcore kids, they kind of quickly gained different kind of respect in terms of that, you know, any way you slice it, they were the indiest band there is.
Yeah.
And so
Totally
with
self-made.
you know, like people may not necessarily like their music, but it became a growing and more respected thing of Vermont.
Right.
And then, you know, of course I met all the guys, and you know, and one of my and end up going places together. And I drove up with Mike from Vermont to a premiere of Fear and Loathing Las Vegas,
Huh.
to New York City, and to my utmost surprise, I mean, imagine me, I'm a punk rocker, I am going to this premiere with Mike. I was going to see Melvins actually in Brownies.
Oh, okay.
But he was going to see this premiere, and he was like, "Oh, I can give you a ride, and you want to come with me too." So anyway, I'm going there, and we walk in, and we're kind of late. We missed the red carpet, and we missed it, and we walk into the lobby of the theater, and I see Iggy Pop for the first time in my life, like off stage, in just standing right there, my sage of all times, Jim Jarmusch, and Johnny Depp, and another person who then became a really good friend of mine also, Jonathan Shaw.
Holy shit.
And they're all standing there just chatting, They've already seen the film. I assume,
I think
several
Johnny Depp saw it
times.
by then, yeah.
And then Mike just goes straight up to them and shakes Iggy's hand.
Wow.
And I just got knocked out. In my
Yeah.
naive world where everything was still kind of compartmentalized.
Right.
Yeah.
Like to some degree, that like how can Iggy of the Stooges have like shaking a hand the guy from the Fish?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
But then it's like, it was a time of maturing for me, of like, this is all musicians. This is all Dionysian madness.
Yeah.
This is all creativity flourishing in many other ways.
Yeah.
And so I kind of had to, grow up there on the spot in a certain sense, on some level.
And you walked up to Iggy?
Yeah, I introduced myself, of course. I was with Mike at the first time. Then then years later, I met Iggy again, and we became friends through another chain of events, not like in a passing.
Yeah.
But he kind of Iggy just kind of aside from being like a musical inspiration, he what is significant is that as I grew to realize is that it wasn't just like your musical mentor, like that's all there is, like that's just he does that and that's it. It's like years later, I mean, I was going pretty hard, playing 200 shows, and I was not too far off the Iggy's flight of the bumblebee frequency.
Right.
I was like pretty close to not existing at some point.
Yeah, I feel that same.
Yeah, just going ham, and I just kind of started falling apart. And when I met Jim,
Were you
Iggy-
into blow or anything?
No,
No?
I wasn't. But music is quite psychedelic substance on its own. So if you're going very hard, you can get there fast.
Yeah.
And I was going very hard. I was on this mission that like I need to like create be some kind of musical medicine man. And it was partly delusional, of course, or entirely delusional, let's say. It almost took a life out of me. But that's when I met Jim, and he was just like, he kind of said this word qigong to me, which is, this like form of martial art that he was practicing. And, I kind of studied up and looked it up and started practicing myself, which basically saved my life.
Holy
Yeah, so it's like, Iggy, the same person who sent me on this, nuclear engine rocket, sonic nuclear engine rocket, is the same person who kind of made me even keel later on.
Oh my
in my
God,
life.
that's unbelievable.
Yeah, it is. It is.
dude.
It's really meaningful in a lot of ways, and he's just like this tree that keeps on giving.
Yeah.
Just still going, uniting people, bringing their frequency up, everywhere he goes.
Yeah. Well, speaking of being a gift, you built a lane for my band to do what we do. So I just
Well,
want to say thank you.
Oh, thank you, man.
we're-
It's amazing to hear, you know.
We're high energy, and we couldn't have done it without you guys. And like to play these open air shows, and to like for them to give us a shot, because we grew up listening to you guys. And so thank you.
Thanks. And this is also a very cool time for, you know, now also considering your audience. Exactly that, you know. I'm actually, over the time, I kind of made my way into, and because of Les Claypool and just being keeping my ears open, kind of made my way into finding a lot of interesting things for myself in jam band scene and playing a lot of those festivals.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, people, we
all play
often
the same
invited-
stuff. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're often invited into those circles with Les or without, you know, like Galactic. I love Galactic.
Yeah, the boys.
They're
Yeah,
awesome.
they're all
Stan Moore is the man.
so great.
So great.
And
Yeah,
you know,
King Gizzard.
King Gizzard, of course. Earlier on, I was Osric Tentacles.
Yeah.
It's really one of my kind of.
He loves
Oh
it.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
New York.
Way
Those are
before
great.
their
Not
time.
from England. Osric
There's
Tentacles.
about
yeah.
like what about like Medeski, Martin and Wood?
Think like
Have you ever heard of
Disco
them?
Biscuits, but really good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that I don't know.
Oh, they're like a New York kind of jazz.
But you know, something really cool is happening now where I was at the festival and I saw a T-shirt, you know, the typical jam band, like what do you call them, acid wash T-shirts. You know, those-
oh yeah.
You know,
tie-dye. Yeah.
tie-dye, and I was just like, okay, it's that thing, and but then I see Sex Pistols logo on it,
Oh my God.
and so I was like, damn, the time has come. We're like, you there's no way you could wear a T-shirt like this in the like 90s. you know?
Exactly. Yeah. You get beat up. Yeah. Cardinal sin.
You
That's
couldn't go to
fucking
punk rock
amazing.
show in that T-shirt or in that T-shirt to a jam band. No, but now I feel like there's so many streaks of alternative music happen that, I mean, if you get it like under microscope, like the new psychedelia movement that was like, you know, Manchester sound and happened with like Stone Roses and, you know,
Right.
Primal Scream. That was the tie-dye with Sex
Yeah,
Pistols
right.
on. That was the punk rock jam bands, you know, on its own trip.
Right.
But that, you know, now it's like maybe that can get elevated. And I can see also a lot of younger bands that I produce, and because now I have my own label and
You like doing that?
Yeah, it's awesome.
I bet
Yeah.
I bet it's great for like a dental cleansing of the brain, you know, to help.
It's great for curating, you know, essentially
That
like
even makes
new
sense.
wave of
Dental
music.
cleansing. It didn't make sense at all. I make up a lot.
I do too. Well, I'm gonna have to go with curating this time. Curating dental cleansing, but no, you know, it's good to sometimes bring bands together that, you know, some band might be stuck in, especially when they're young. You know, people who are like 23, 24, and they're like stuck in Harlem, or other band is like all the way out in Bushwick. Another band is in downtown.
Yeah.
And like years go by, they never heard about each other. But if you put them on the same label and into the same shows, suddenly it's like a community,
Right.
and it grows from there. So that's been great, and kind of shoegaze and psychedelic rock, kind of psychedelic psych punk. It's kind of becoming a thing.
It is.
Yeah,
It really is.
is. Yeah, it really is.
I'm stoked.
Yeah.
Well, I'm stoked. Thank you for taking your time.
Fuck yeah, man.
This was great, man.
Oh,
You're
yeah,
the
man.
man. Keep rocking.
Yeah.
Listen to you talk for 2 more
I
hours.
c- yeah, I could. Yeah, let's
I'm
do.
delirious because I didn't sleep. That's why I
Okay.
have to wear shades.
Okay.
So it's
yeah?
just like,
well, get some sleep before the Ogden. Go kick ass, and let's do this again sometime.
yeah, sure.
Oh, yeah, man.
Thank you.
Cheers, buddy. Cheers.
Good meeting you.
Dude, that was